supplemental drink you can drink every day. We use that a lot of times with patients that don't like to take pills, or if they want to lose weight, it helps with that. But it does a lot of good things. And it tastes good. It doesn't taste healthy, so that's even better. There's also just a little sheet on here on controlling cholesterol. Just something for you to read when you have some free time. The other thing too, I've written several articles that have been published, and they're on our internet or website. But here's one on fiber that I wrote back in June. So it's just some more information about fiber, soluble fibers, how fiber can make you healthier. And the other thing I have patients oftentimes will ask me questions about is, well, how do I know if I have inflammation in my blood vessels or in my body? I mean, I can't feel it, you know. So there are some blood tests, and that's what this thing is. It has the heart on it, that your family physician or your doctor or me or whoever can actually have these ordered to see if you do have inflammation. And some of these markers, like homocysteine and C-reactive protein, are real specific for the heart to see if you have inflammation, because we can do a lot to reduce the plaquing, but if we don't do anything to arrest the inflammation process that's going on in our body, you know, you're really still a great risk to have a heart attack. Which is interesting too, because there were several studies published over the past year that, you know, we still see that 50% of the patients that have heart attacks, of those patients, 50% have normal cholesterol levels, and they're still getting heart attacks. So I think the underlying problem is oxidized LDLs, inflammation. If we're able to pick out those markers and do some things to focus on through your diet and your exercise that way, then I think you can do a lot to help reduce the risk of having a heart attack. So anyway, any other questions about anything? Are you taking? So you guys are both taking supplements, all right?
Take a multivitamin every day. It's got lycopene in it. It's got that
Good.
CoQ10 in it.
Good. Good. That's important.
Got lutein in it.
Good for your eyes.
What's your opinion on this osteobotflex?
Well, you know, I don't know what if the calcium source is not calcium carbonate, because I think it's got calcium in it. I'm not sure what all is in osteobotflex. You may have brought that in a year or two ago. But it's got glucosaminochondroitin sulfate in it, right?
Yeah.
And that's good. Most sources of that are good. If it's got calcium carbonate, it's a very, very difficult form of calcium for your body to absorb. So if it has calcium lactate, calcium citrate, or calcium hydroxyapatite, those are the three most readily absorbed forms of calcium.
So hard to absorb?
Yeah, and it can be really hard on your system. But the glucosaminochondroitin that I believe is in that, that's good.
Calcium citrate is easier to absorb.
Yeah, citrate, what did I say? Citrate, hydroxyapatite, and lactate are the easiest. Carbonate is like going out to National Limestone Quarry out here and eating this limestone, because it's very, very difficult for your body to absorb that. So, anyway, you had questions, so you can't take statin drugs, right? You've had problems
I've
with
tried it, different ones.
How high is your cholesterol?
It was 240, 250 something when you had it done.
Last time I had done, it was about 240, 250, I think.
Yeah, how about your LDLs and HDLs? Do you remember?
His triglycerides were on the very end of the normal.
On the, in the
High.
borderline.
Okay. LDLs probably were maybe a little high. His cholesterol was a little bit high.
Yeah.
And then HDLs probably a little low. That's how most people seem to run. Well, the other thing you might try something. There's two supplements I would recommend. If you can't get enough fiber in your diet, eat more fiber. But the other thing, we have a supplement with inflammation support that has a combination of these different supplements in one capsule, but also one for cholesterol. Same thing, has all the supplements in one capsule. So, you know, if you're interested in trying something like that, I'd try it, but I would take it for at least 90 days, and then maybe get your blood checked, or we can do a cholesterol screen on it and check it. Like if you take Lipitor, you need to take CoQ10. And you need to take, if you're taking Lipitor, you should take probably 100 milligrams of CoQ10 a day. So check your vitamin. Yeah, if you don't take a statin, I still would recommend you take 50 a day anyway, because our whole society seems to be depleting CoQ10. But if you're taking a statin, definitely take 100 milligrams a day.
What's that you take? What's that Lipitor? How many milligrams is that?
20 milligrams.
20?
How are your LDLs and HDLs? Are they pretty good?
I had mine done, when was it? Around Thanksgiving time.
Mm-hmm.
And my total cholesterol was 157.
That's good.
That was kind of low.
157? That's okay. That's okay. You know, there was a Framingham heart study. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. The it's been going on for 30 years. Well, there's either 10 or 30,000 patients that they've been following for the past 30 years or so. And it is felt that, after you get beyond 60 years of age, anything below 150 with cholesterol is not a healthy thing to be in. So, just as a side note.
Anything below 150.
Yeah. But the LDL is what you gotta look at, especially the oxidized. So,
I think I've got 2 of these.
if you got a copy of your blood work, bring it in and I'll look at it
Yeah,
sometime.
I have coffee.
We'll see
My
what it is.
triglycerides are fine.
Good.
Never had any problem with sugar, that's always been normal.
But you guys eat pretty well too.
Yeah, we eat pretty well.
Yeah, you
Eat better
McDonald's
than
all
we
the time,
should
processed foods. I mean, that's what it gets you is eating all these processed foods.
I
Fast
don't
food
use
and all
processed
that.
food.
So,
I don't go to the grocery store and buy boxes and shove it in the
Good.
oven, or I cook.
well, that's probably why
I cook from scratch.
you are healthy. That's probably why you are. It makes a
Very
big
seldom
difference.
do I ever use anything out of a box.
Yeah, that's good. Because usually if it's got a label on it, it's bad news. You start reading labels. The other thing you have to really start watching label-wise is high fructose corn syrup. Because that has a way of, even though it's a sweetener, it's an artificial sweetener, it's a sugar, and it's used in just about everything because it's got a long shelf life, in breads and buns. It makes the bread nice and brown on the outside and soft on the inside. It prevents freezer burn, and as I said, it's a sweetener. But what it does, it's from corn, so you'd think it ought to be natural, but due to the enzymatic processes that take place to make that stuff, when you ingest that, your body, your brain sees it as being a sugar or something that should be used for energy. But what it doesn't do, it doesn't stimulate the release of insulin. And insulin is what drives sugar into the cell for energy. So what happens is you get this stuff in your bloodstream, which is very inflammatory, and if your body doesn't use it for energy, it gets stored as fat. And that was introduced into our diets in the 80s. And they believe, most experts believe, that our incidence of childhood obesity right now is directly linked to high fructose corn syrup. And because it dysregulates insulin metabolism so much. And so you eat the sugar, and your brain thinks it's going to get some sugar for energy, and it's left with nothing. So what happens, it makes you want to eat something else again for sugar, because your body is constantly trying to maintain normal blood sugar level values. So start reading those labels. High fructose corn syrup. Corn syrup isn't so bad. High fructose corn syrup, that's the bad. And I've seen, well, I didn't see, but I had some people last week were here, and they had started seeing some commercials about high fructose corn syrup from people that produce it, and how it was good for you, and how it was natural, it was from corn. So a lot of deceptive advertising. But well, if you look at the literature and the studies that have been done on that, it's just, it's almost scary. And it is hard not to buy anything without it in it. If it's in a box or got a label on it, especially breads.
How about the strained honey?
I think honey's good. Honey's good. Honey's a good if you get a natural, pure honey and you know where it's coming from. And it's really good, I think, to help with allergies and defend your body against allergens if you can get a local honey. So I think honey's an okay
I'm not
thing.
finding myself. Eat quite a bit of it.
Yeah, so I think honey's an okay thing. But it's like anything else that has the sugar. Honey is very sweet and it's a very refined sugar product, even though it's a natural product. You just don't want to eat too much of it.
I was trying to find it good for your heart.
Yeah. Well, I think honey's probably good for a lot of good
But
things.
as far as red meat, it's better to have it medium rare or done, or does it
You don't
matter?
want to char it. I think if you cook it on a grill, because I have read several articles in the scientific literature that charred meat sometimes can be carcinogenic or lead to cancer type problems. So if you just don't char the outside of your meat, fine. Whether it's rare, medium rare, or well done, I don't know if it matters that much. The key is how much marbling's in it or how fatty it is. And of course, the better the tastier the choice of meat is, the more fat's in it. So you just have to choose red meats, make sure they're not super
Red meat's
fatty.
probably
That's
my
one,
fault.
that's one of our problems, red meat.
Well, it is you
I
you
don't-
know
I
it
don't-
down.
I don't pick the fat right from
How often do you like to eat red meat? A couple times a week, maybe?
Yeah.
a couple times a week.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
What
not
about
a problem.
chicken?
That's not a problem.
Told her red meat last night, fixed T-bone
Mhm.
steak, and she's notorious for taking the bone and scraping it right down to into the bone.
Well,
Yeah.
that's really good
Getting all
meat.
that,
Yeah,
all
that's
that
okay.
fat and stuff off of it.
Well, you got to cut that fat off. You got to cut the fat off the
Yeah.
eggs. But the bad thing is that, the fat is what gives things its flavor, It makes it taste so good. But you just got to trim it and make it a little thinner, because fat is very inflammatory in our bodies. And, so are a lot of these